Hello and welcome. In this video we are gonna create the matrix pattern in Substance Designer. So let's take a look at the reference that I took when creating the matrix pattern. This was it. And the first thing I want to show you is how to obtain some of these characters. So you can go to Google Translate and translate any text from English to Japanese or English to Chinese. Let's say, for example, Substance Designer, and you get all kind of nice characters that you can go on and copy. Then you can take these into Photoshop and export them as PNGs. So I created 6 characters, and I'm gonna try and make these available for you to download if you want to follow along with these characters. Let's get these into Designer and recreate the pattern. So I'm gonna drag them over into Designer. So these images are recognized as color maps. So I need a grayscale convert here. Then I also need an auto levels to increase the contrast on this. And I want to repeat the same process for all of these characters. So just select these 2 nodes and Ctrl D to duplicate them. Okay, so now that we got these characters, I want to scatter them. So I will have a tile sampler. And let's have an X and Y amount of 45. Here at the pattern, I will have pattern input and the maximum number of inputs. Then I can connect all these characters. Okay, so we got these characters scattered. Now I want to bring in some randomness to all of these. So let's get into this tile sampler and first add some position randomness. Maybe just 0.12. Then I want to mask some of these. And I also want some random colors to these. So let's take a look at our reference. And here on this reference you can see that all of these characters are falling down. So I want to recreate this effect. So let's duplicate this tile sampler by pressing Ctrl D. I'm gonna delete all of these connections. Let's reduce the pattern input number and then choose a square as a pattern. I'm gonna reduce the position random and color random, as well as mask random. Then I want 1 here at the Y amount. And let's increase the Y size to get these lines all the way up. And I'm gonna go back at the color random and increase this. Then I will have a cross-section node here. So this node will give me a cross-section for all of these columns. So wherever I have a brighter value, I will have a longer line on the cross section. And this will help me to mask out some of those characters. So let's connect this to the mask map input here. And I'm gonna increase the mask map threshold all the way up. Then I can invert this mask. Now if I double click on the tile sampler and single click on the cross section, I can use this height offset to drive these characters. So you can see that this gives the illusion that these characters are falling down. The only problem here is that these characters are moving uniformly, and I want some of these rows to fall down and at the same time some of them to retract. And for that I will use a Perlin noise. Let's scale this down. Connect this to the color map of this tile sampler. I'm gonna reduce the color random because now I want this Perlin noise to drive the color of these lines. And then I can increase the color parameterization. And if I double click on the cross section and single click on the Perlin noise, I can play with the disorder, and you can see that these lines are smoothly going, some of them up and some of them down. Then I will double click on the tile sampler, and you can see the effect here also. And as a final step, I will get back here and connect the height offset of the cross section to the disorder of the Perlin noise, and that way when I change the height it will also change the disorder and some of these lines will go back. What I want to do next is to create some grayscale variation per line here. So I want to have different grayscale values for all of these lines. For that I could take this tile sampler, but these lines are not as random as I would like them to be because of this Perlin noise. So I'm gonna press Ctrl D and duplicate this tile sampler, then delete this color map input and reduce the color parameterization and increase the color random. Now I have much more randomness per line. Let's get this here and bring in a blend node. I will have multiply here. Now you can see that these lines have different grayscale values. I can select this blend node and press Shift D to bypass it, and you can see the difference now. Let's take another look at the reference, and you can see that some of the characters from the bottom part are much more brighter than those from the top part. So let's try and recreate this. I will duplicate this cross section that we have here. Let's change the drawing style to gradient, and I need a transform here. I'm gonna rotate this 180 degrees. Here from the cross section I can reduce the height, and then I can get back to a transform 2D and increase this transform manually so I can get more contrast here. And I'm gonna blend this with the multiply blending mode again. And because we have some darker values here, our characters will be darker there. I can also have levels here. Let's double click this blend node. So we have that as a preview, and single click the levels, and then we can bring in more contrast. Okay, so next I want to create the color of this. So let's bring in a gradient. And I'm gonna sample some colors from this screensaver. So let's go to the gradient editor, pick gradient, and I have to move this down. So now I have some colors. Let's get another gradient map here, because that will convert everything to a color map, and I need this to be a color map for the blend. And now let's have a blend. And here at the opacity, I need a grayscale mask. I can drag that from here. Let's add a dot with Alt, another dot here, and connect it there. Okay, so now I have the green color of the characters. Let's add a levels here and add some more contrast to this. I'm gonna leave it as it is for now. The next thing I want to do is to add some glow around these characters. For that I could have a glow node. Let's increase the glow amount. I'm gonna leave something like this. Then I will blend this to reduce the effect of it. Then I can add another layer of glow. So let's bring in another glow, this time with different settings. Let's see if I type in 2 at the glow amount. Let's blend this also. Let's see if I change this blending mode to add and reduce the opacity. Then at the second one, I can have copy or maybe screen. Let's leave something like this for now. Next, I want to create some more visual interest to these characters, so I'm gonna bring in a height blend. And this height blend works with grayscale map, so I have to get back somewhere around here before we created the color map. And I'm gonna connect this here, reroute everything. Then I need a transform from this blend node. And I will press this X2 to scale everything up once. And then I can connect this to the height blend. Let's go to this final node here to visualize it and single click on the blend node. Then I can reduce the opacity. I think we kinda exaggerated with these levels here, so let's get back to it and reduce. And maybe we can reduce the glow also. Okay, so I want to go back to this height blend. And I'm gonna have another height blend here. Let's reroute everything holding shift and connect this transform here. And then I want another transform, and this one I'm gonna make it smaller. Connect that here. Let's visualize the last node. Here from the height blend I can reduce the opacity, and from this transform 2D I'm gonna scale this up a bit and move it around. Do something like this. Okay, so next I want to blur these characters a bit. So let's bring in a blur HQ. Let's have maybe 0.15. Then I can have another levels, and with this I can do some more adjustments. And the last thing that I want to do is to tie this height offset to the disorder from the Perlin noise. For that I'm gonna go to this cross section, and here at the height offset I will expose this. And then from this Perlin noise, here at the disorder I'm gonna have this as height offset. I don't know if you can see this, so height offset. Then I'm going to the last node here, double click it to visualize it, and then double click anywhere outside the graph. With this I get to the substance graph properties. Here I'm gonna scroll down, and from this height offset I can play with this default value. Let's set this to a value of -0.005. Then I can play with this slider and create the illusion of these characters falling down. I hope you enjoyed my video. See you next time.